All right, guys, time for a diagnostic video. We have, I don't know what it is exactly, maybe around a 2010 or so. Looks like a Ford Expedition, and we've got a check engine light, and that is all that I know. Well, there are a couple other things. The owner says that occasionally the engine will run rough, particularly in the mornings when it's first started. And that may be a clue there for us, and that actually really is all that I know. Honestly, that's it. I can tell you that when I pulled the car up into the garage, it idled like a new car. Pulling it up into the garage, my driveway does have a bit of a slope to it, and it pulled right up the slope without any issues or anything like that. So granted, not a driving test, but it certainly didn't seem to act rough to me for sure. But I have no idea what's going on with this thing, so I'm going to boot up the scan tool as the very first step so that we can pull the check engine code that should give us a direction. And of course, if you are not aware by now, you should be that we have started another channel here on YouTube, Schrodinger's Toolbox, where I do honest tool reviews. It is material you will not find on this channel. We're not doing tool reviews anymore on this channel. They'll all be done over on Schrodinger's Toolbox here. I'm testing some products that are supposed to help to get rid of oil stains out of the driveway. So we do a scientific test here and compare them side by side. If you haven't checked it out, it's totally different than the format on this channel. The videos are very, very short. We just go right to looking at the product, and I will point out the good and the bad with the product. It's one of the agreements I have with the manufacturer. Now, we need your help though. We need your help. At the time of this video, I just need like 190 more subscribers to get to a level with Amazon where I am going to be able to get bigger and better tools because I'll have more leverage with my viewer base on this new channel. So please check it out. Please consider subscribing to Schrodinger's Toolbox. If I can just get not even 200 more subscribers, we're going to be able to bring you bigger and better reviews. So please consider subscribing. All right, looks like my scan tool's booted up, so let's go check out what code we got for this check engine light. Okay, we have a interesting combination. We may not have seen this before, actually, and that is the misfire detected on startup. I don't know if we've ever covered this before, but we'll go through that. Obviously, our main issue here is the P0304 causing the check engine light code. Misfire cylinder number 4. Misfires are always kind of fun. We're going to go ahead with this video, even if it's something simple, because of the fact that we want to cover this new information here whenever possible. And I don't know that we've covered misfire on startup. So what a misfire detected on startup means is that it's detecting when you first start the car. And in this case, within the first 1,000 revolutions, it's detecting misfires. And the reason that's important is because it can help you differentiate between misfires that are occurring on a cold engine start versus misfires that are occurring all the time or only when the engine is warm or something like that. And it can really be helpful for intermittent problems, which it seems that we have, by the way. It is possible that we are not going to get this engine to misfire now because the engine is warmed up. And reasons for misfire on startup can be fairly numerous. You could have, for example, a leaking fuel injector, and you need enough time for the fuel injector to leak enough fuel that it saturates the cylinder and will not allow the plug to fire, and you have the misfire on startup. But then pretty quickly, that fuel burns off and it starts running again. Coolant can also do the same thing. If you have a coolant leak from, say, a really small blown head gasket issue, if you've got a pinhole leak in the head gasket and coolant gets to that cylinder overnight, but then it burns off fairly quickly. Oil leaking from valve seals, all kinds of things that can do it. A vacuum leak, as a matter of fact, we've seen that many times on this channel, that the vacuum leak is fairly prominent on a cold engine, but it fairly quickly subsides when the engine warms up. Things expand and that intake manifold seals up again much better. So this is definitely something we do not want to dismiss. All right, it looks like we got a bunch of other things that I'm really not interested about, the parking aid and driver seat module, things like that. We're really interested in this check engine light here. So let's go ahead and enter the PCM system here. There we go. Using the Autel MS909 here. And one of the things I want to do is establish right now if we can detect any misfires. So I think the first thing that I want to do is determine if we have any misfires in real time right now. It's entirely possible we may be able to pull up a power balance test here. So let me, whoa, I didn't mean to push that. What happened here? Let me get out of that. Sorry about that. Okay, so we want to look and see if there's power balance test. And what that does is it basically uses crankshaft position sensor to measure the speed of the crankshaft after every firing event. A misfire in a particular cylinder will cause that cylinder to move the crankshaft just a little bit slower than if there was actually a combustion stroke and there wasn't a misfire. So that can be really useful. Let's check over here. God dang it, I didn't mean to do that. All right, my screen is really sensitive or my fingers are kind of jittery. Okay. Oh, I don't see it here either. Okay, so we may not have that. All right, so that's all right because we can see if we've got some kind of a misfire counter. So we'll just go back here and look for cylinder misfires. Well, right here, acceleration value of cylinders 1 through 8. That is exactly what I was talking about. The only thing is that that's only going to be useful in a graph, and I can only graph 4 things at a time. But that's okay because we can do cylinder number 4 with, I guess, any other cylinders since we only have the single cylinder misfires. So this may still be useful. We'll show you that in a minute. What I'd kind of like to do is see if there's other misfire data here. So as you can see, we also have injector fault discovery here. If this is an injector problem, we may be able to detect the injector is not firing specifically. That's pretty rare. I think we'll just start off with the misfire counter there. It doesn't look like there's any other misfire data. So let's go back here. And let's take a look at this because we've never done this before. All right. Going to select these acceleration values here. We don't need that accelerator pedal. And we're going to show those. And then let's start the engine. All right. As you can see, this is pretty useless. I actually heard the engine misfire once right there. You guys, I doubt, would have been able to detect that through the camera, but right now the engine's idling completely fine. And as you can see, this is completely useless. Now, if we graph this, one of the problems, I can only graph 4 things maximum. And the other thing we need to do, we need to kind of explode this out on the y-axis to create more sensitivity here. And the idea is that if we get misfires on a power balance test, they're going to show up as the graph taking a big dip for that particular cylinder on that cylinder's combustion stroke. Right now we're not seeing anything here. So let me see if I can demonstrate this actually. Okay, we're going to come over here to bank 1. It's numbered 1, 2, 3, 4 in the back corner. And then on the other side of the engine, 5, 6, 7, 8. So cylinder 1 is right here. There is a fuel injector I can reach. I'm going to unplug that fuel injector, cause the misfire, and we can see the result of that. Now, we're also having an interesting thing here, as you can tell, in that while I pulled down number 1, which is blue, I also pulled down number 3. Why is that? Why is that? Let me go ahead and plug this back in. Okay, and now we see we return and we're much more normalized here. But as you can see, if we had a consistent misfire, I'm going to unplug it again, we would be able to detect that. Now, why is number 3 showing slower? And the reason for that, I am going to say, is because of the firing order. I'm going to say that cylinder number 3 comes after cylinder number 4 in the firing order. Let's take a look at that, and I'll explain. Going to go ahead and plug that back in. We see we return back to normal. Okay, and as we can see, that is indeed the reason. Our firing order 13726548, because I disconnected cylinder number 1, again, number 1 right here, if you're facing the engine as a mechanic, front left, and then we have number 3 is the next in the firing order. And what's happening is because number 1 is slowing down, it's affecting the next cylinder is what's happening. But then by the time 3 gets through its thing, the other cylinders besides 1 are all firing normal. The engine kind of catches up to speed and everything looks normal. So that, by the way, is one of the reasons why very often you can be misled. You may have a P0300 multiple cylinder misfire, or even just 2 cylinders identified as misfiring, cylinder number 1, cylinder number 3. But when you do the analysis properly like that, you may find that it actually is only 1 single cylinder misfiring and the other one is artificial as a result of the misfire detection technology that's used. So that was a good example there. I'm kind of glad we went over that. So right now I'm going to say we don't seem to have misfires right now, but I want to try to take a closer look at that. We may also just kind of go a little bit old school on this. We may, for example, swap coils and plugs and then drive the vehicle, and maybe we can get this vehicle to act up if we drive it really heavy. Sometimes you can also do it with a brake torque, holding the brakes down while you're in drive really hard while giving the car gas, simulating, going up a hill or something, fighting the brakes, and working that engine can do it too sometimes. But we need to get this engine to misfire to get anywhere here, so let's see what we can do. All right, because we know where this misfire is, we could start with visual inspection. And the coil is there, the fuel injector is there. I mean, like, there's not really a lot I can do here. I kind of want to feel this misfire. All right, and hold on 1 second because Vicki just brought dinner, so I need to take a break here.
No!
What?
Do not let anybody see that I burnt your pizza. No. 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 No.
All right, well, looks like I won't be getting pizza or probably much of anything else right now for a while. But I don't know, guys. What do you want to do here? We could just go ahead and start taking a look at some things. We could try using the scope and seeing if we can detect any kind of difference with ignition signals. We could just go old school, swap some coils here. This is coil on plug. Just swap coils, see if the thing moves. These really aren't too hard to reach back here. We could try driving the car, see if we can get the misfires to act up. There's no wrong direction here, there really isn't. I kind of think I'd like to see if we can get these misfires to act up. So I think what I'm going to do is, let's try a brake torque real quick. Brake torque. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take left foot down here, firmly apply the brake, then put it in drive while firmly holding the brake with my left foot. Now I'm going to give it gas with the right foot. And the vehicle is trying to lurch forward, but it can't. Now I am seeing a little bit lower with cylinder number 1 here. Okay, so we may be able to replicate this to some extent. Okay. let's turn that off. And I'm going to come back in like 5 minutes, and we're going to start the car again. Oh, shoot, wait, I don't want to lose my data, so I'm just going to leave the key to the on position. Okay, stay connected there. And what we're going to do is give this like 5 minutes, come back, and see if we can detect those misfires on startup. All right, this is ultimately not going to be that hard of a diagnosis, because ultimately we can just stay extreme low tech, and we can just swap the plugs and swap the coils with functioning cylinders. And given the data that we're able to acquire here, we can just see if the misfire moves. And if it moves, then we know that plug or that coil was the problem. And if it doesn't move, then either we have a fuel issue or something leaking into the cylinder that is causing that initial misfire right off the bat. I don't know, I kind of want to go high tech on this, but let's just keep this low tech on this one. We do plenty with the scope lately and everything, which is really the way to do it, because we'd be able to diagnose this faster. And right now I just happen to have time. This is my last car of the day and it's kind of early. So yeah, let's just stay low tech here. All right, I think we've given enough time that last time the cylinder was able to show some misfires. So let's see if we can duplicate it. Okay, and it looks like I lost my merge data here. We need this graph. You see, this is useless without graphing, and that's why a power balance test is always a graph. I'm going to zoom in a bit there. Let's go ahead and start this up. And well, let's see. We had cylinder number 4 drop. Okay, so looks like this is reproducible to me. So let's go ahead and play the old swapperoo. While we do that, we can, yeah, actually I want to save the battery on my scan tool while I do that. So we're going to turn that off. And we're going to pull the old swapperoo with the coil and plug and then repeat this test, one we haven't done before, and see if we can identify any possible ignition problem. I think we're going to swap coils between 1 and 4 and plugs between 3 and 4, only because cylinder number 2 is buried under these water pipes a bit, and it's just hard to get to cylinder number 2. So that should be fine. And guys, I just want to stress, what I'm doing here, all I'm doing is I'm just showing you yet another method for helping to determine the cause of a misfire, to diagnose a misfire, that's different than other ways that we've done before. This is really not the way that I would do it if I wasn't filming. I would actually use my scope for this, honestly, and make much quicker work of this. But we have not seen these PIDs before on the scan tool, and this is just a good educational value here. Oh, whoa, wait a minute. Well, here's a problem right here. Well, look at that. What is that? That is oil. Okay, so I think that's going to be our problem, to be honest with you. I think we got motor oil leaking into this cylinder here. Let me see if we can take a look. I can't really see in there very well, but that definitely would cause a misfire right there if there's a whole bunch of oil over that plug. So let me label that. I'm going to label that number 4 right there. All right, we got number 1 right there. We're just going to label that up because we need to clean this oil off here. I'm going to say this car probably has leaking spark plug tube seals, is my guess. So we'll probably have to do a valve cover on this. All right, well now I don't have much time if that's going to be the repair. That's going to take a while, especially on the right side of these engines, the bank 1 side. The cooling stuff is all over the place on here. It's a little more challenging doing it on the right side of the engine here. We need to get a look in there because I don't want to take that spark plug out before I see what it looks like on the outside of the spark plug. So let's grab this. Okay, we're gonna use the Rawcam Borescope here. We got a review of that on the Tool Reviews channel actually, and this is a good tool review because this, man, I use this thing all the time. All the time. All right. And of course, for any new viewers to the channel here, the way we do it here, because you're thinking, well, this is a lot of crap, derp, we just go ahead and replace that seal. We got oil on the coil there, and you just fix that, and then the car's fixed. Why are you going through all this? Well, the reason is because the whole point is we also now have a way, we discovered that we can validate that we fixed this car, that there isn't also some other issue in that cylinder, like for example, low compression or something. When we repeat this test after fixing it, we can validate that I know this customer is not going to come back the next day going, hey, check engine lights back because there was another problem. That's why. All right, we're going to feed this into the spark plug tube here. And let's see if you can get a look here with me. And what is going on here? It looks like the spark plug tube is completely full of oil all the way up to the top of the spark plug. Obviously, this is our problem, but if this was a different problem, that wouldn't have been as easy to diagnose. We want that method of being able to confirm. All right, before I clear that out, we can just give you a look here. If you can see it dripping, right, that's coolant. That's not oil. Hold on a second. This is definitely not oil. That's coolant. Wait a minute. Get you a look at this real quick here. Just dipping the spark plug socket there. Pull this out. We can see it run off. That is coolant. Okay, I was wrong. It looked like oil before, but now that I see it in the light here, that is definitely coolant. All right, so the problem is that I don't see evidence of an external coolant leak here. Well, dang. This may be a problem. By the way, now this becomes a whole different thing with the confirmation of the issue, doesn't it? Yeah, it definitely does. None of these hoses are leaking. There's a lot of coolant hoses, as I was mentioning, that come over this side of the engine. None of these coolant hoses are leaking. I don't see any wet coolant other than what I've spilled. Well, this may be a problem, and it's interesting that the engine was running so well, but we may have a blown head gasket here, possibly, and it may be pushing the coolant past the spark plug threads or something. I'm not sure why the coolant is pulling up in the spark plug tube like that, but let's get that spark plug out. See if that spark plug is loose or something, by the way. All right, this spark plug's having a little bit of a stubbornness coming out. There we go. Okay, let's take a look. Well, we can see that it is completely wet with coolant. Now it's hard to tell whether that is from its condition inside the cylinder or whether this is because of removing it and there was residual coolant outside of the cylinder. But kind of what I'm thinking now, kind of want to do a leak down test. I think if we just do a leak down test, we can just get over with this diagnosis here, and that would be pretty definitive. So if the leak down test is positive, we're pretty much done here. The only explanation for that is going to be coolant entering that cylinder. And if the leak down test is negative, well, then we have some kind of external coolant leak on this vehicle somewhere, and that would be easy. All right, let's go ahead and set up for a leak down test. All right, well, I'm having a little bit of a problem here in that I do not have the correct adapter for this particular spark plug size. And it doesn't look to me like there's any leak of coolant other than what I spilled in testing this. But I really want to do the leak down test because I just want to rule out if that coolant is getting in the cylinder. I'm a little skeptical of that, but I just want to rule that out because if we can rule that out, we're done. So I think we're going to try a different idea here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my pressure tester for the cooling system and a Borescope.